brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask the Paul, where we rise and don't fall.
Welcome back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Now, today I have a special guest with me. She is the Vice President of Global Human Resources at Destaco. She is a friend of mine, and whether she knows it or not, she is actually a low-key mentor of mine as well. Cynthia Wells, welcome to Baxter's Buzz. Cynthia, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored just to be here with you today. Thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Our conversations are always great. I always learn something new, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of your wisdom with the audience.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. So, talk a bit about where you are currently at Destaco, sort of what the company does, and then your role there specifically.
Okay, so Destaco, we are a diversified manufacturing company. We design and we manufacture highly automated products and solutions for the automotive industry, as well as other industries such as nuclear, life sciences, consumer packaging, et cetera. So we're a highly precise engineering and manufacturing company.
And then your role as Vice President of Global Human Resources, I know it. We'd spend all day talking about everything that you do, but just briefly, sort of what are your what does a normal day look like for you?
Ooh, a normal day. I don't know that I've had a normal day in a long time, but typically what is happening is, really what I do is, help the rest of the business leaders, our president and our other vice presidents and general managers run the business. And then I bring the HR expertise. So we're partnering and collaborating together very frequently, all day, every day. I feel like as the HR leader, I see a lot more interesting things than my colleagues, because you just don't know what's going to happen in a day, whether it's a business issue or a people issue. And we've certainly been having to deal with some things that have not happened in the last couple of years. So it's been a continual learning process.
Yeah, the HR community, that's basically my community, my folks, and every company doesn't have their HR leader sort of in the position to really collaborate with the other leaders, right? It can sort of be this standalone sort of piece, which just feels so backwards and so counterintuitive. Talk about the importance of being able to, like you said, know what's going on, be in the mix, being able to add your hat from your own experiences, but then you're also your HR hat to these strategic initiatives.
Yeah, for those companies who don't work well, let's just say work well with HR, I think they're missing out. I think they're missing out on a lot of revenues and a lot of profitability and their ability to grow and be stronger. But for me, our president, I have a great leader. He's a great leader. His name is Russell Toney. Shout out to Russell. Russell stresses that he wants everybody on the leadership team to be a business leader first, right? So forget about what your function is, forget about what your title says. We all should be in the business, running the business every single day. And so we do that. right? And so for me, what I bring to the table is that balancing act, right? What's good for the business, what's good for the employees, and how is that going to impact us overall. I feel like it's extremely challenging because when some people who just don't know a lot about HR, the first thing they think about is hiring and firing. Well, that's about 5% of what I do. There's so many other things that are taking place just every day within the business, and as part of HR, I think we're involved in every single piece of the business, helping to make those decisions. So no day is ever the same.
Yeah. And that, it's probably stresses you out, but it's probably nice to have that variety in your day. Yeah, because you're literally dealing with the most important aspect of any company is the people. And people are unpredictable. So not to mention, the processes and all these things that have to be done, but just people, wake up on the wrong side of the bed sometimes. You got issues that you're bringing into work, and all that stuff will, potentially impact, whatever the objective is as far as like your work day and what needs to be done, right? We had a very brief but interesting conversation about sort of this self-branding, the importance of it, right? And I feel like I'm a late bloomer. I'm late to the party a bit as far as understanding the importance. I think that we're building a brand whether we know it or not. I think that folks that aren't even in the workforce, their presence on social media, whether they know it or not, they're building a brand. The reputation you have inside of your schools. I talk to my 9-year-old now a lot about that, and my 6-year-old, about understanding who they represent, when they walk out of this house.
Yes.
And the importance of sort of the way that they carry themselves is not just a reflection of them, it's a reflection of us, of me and their mom. But it also, they're creating a reputation inside of the school, and all those things sort of matter. But and then you talked about this pie formula. So like, talk about when you realize the importance of like this, the self-branding piece. And then if you could talk a bit about the pie formula specifically.
Yeah, so everybody needs to understand what their brand is. And you said a keyword, your brand is your reputation. So how do people see you? How do they perceive you? How are you showing up every single day, whether it's at work, at school, at the grocery store? What do people think about you? And very early on in my career, I had some amazing mentors. I worked at GE for about 12 years and had some amazing mentors, amazing leaders. And one of the things that I learned probably my first year was around, representing the company. I always knew about representing my family and myself because my mother told me, how you step out in the world is how people perceive you. And so don't go outside with pajamas on, and don't go outside with your hair looking crazy. But so that was something that I always knew. But when you are leading and at different levels, you definitely want to understand what that brand is. And if you have aspirations, that brand is going to help you get there. So this pie model is basically the formula for success. And it's something that I've leveraged, and it's something that I coach on. So when you think about this formula, think about a pie chart, right? We all make graphs every day, and each element of this pie chart is that formula. So P, I, and E. So P is for performance. That's a piece of the pie. I is for image, which is another piece. And then E is exposure. So when you think about those three pieces of the pie, they make up one whole pie. How much how much weighting do you think that the P has? Performance. How much? Give me a percentage out of 100.
I'm guessing it's not 33.3 for all of them.
It is not. It is
Okay.
not.
So I would say performance. So I would say exposure has is the most weighted. And image would be the second most rated, with performance sort of taking up the slack at the end. Am I right?
You're right. You are absolutely
Okay.
right. And you're probably one of the only people on the first try to get that right. Because when most people think about it, they think that performance is so high. You gotta perform, and it has to be the biggest piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Actually, performance is the smallest piece of the pie at 10%.
Oh, wow.
Because performance is a given. Baxter, you are not gonna let anybody impact your performance. You are going to show that company that they hired you for a reason, and you are here for a reason, and you're going to execute. So that's a given. If you didn't perform, you wouldn't have a job. You wouldn't have this great career that you have, right? So that's 10%. Then the next one is image. Image is 30% of the pie. So with your image, that's actually the one thing that you can control the most. Your image is how you dress, how you present yourself, again, how you show up. How do you want people to see you when they see you? Do they see a leader? Do they see someone who's, just kind of coasting by? What do they see? And so your image is what you can control the most, and it's 30%. And then the last piece, which is the largest, is exposure at 60%.
Wow.
So 60% of that pie, which is your reputation and your brand, is your exposure. And the reason why people don't know or don't feel that it's so important is because maybe they're uncomfortable with exposure. And now that I'm thinking about it, you probably got this right, because you are great at networking and you understand the power of networking. So exposure can be networking with the right people, networking with those you don't even know who are making decisions on you when you're not even in the room. Exposure is taking on big projects, or those ugly projects that nobody else wants to touch. When they hear about it, they're like, I am not getting involved in that. I don't want any parts of that. That's it. And then when they take it on, they do a great job. That's great positive exposure. Volunteering, doing the presentations, being out in front. There's so many opportunities for exposure, and you always want that exposure to be positive, that can be the biggest piece of your brand.
Wow. So there are folks that, and well, I'm glad that I got it right. I want the record to show that I'm one of the first.
Yes.
Well, I was just kind of like, just kind of examining it when you said it, and I'm like, yeah, because it's something that I have to continue to remind myself, the importance of like the exposure, right? So it's like, as you know, I just wrote my first book.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I'm in a sales role where I am, talking to companies on a daily basis. This book could be the best book ever written, but if no one knows about it, then how is it helping and impacting others, right? The company, Kapnick, could be the greatest brokerage in the world, and if no one knows who we are, then it's not really that's not the results that we want. So it's the exposure is important. But let me ask you from an individual standpoint, when you're doing your coaching and you're talking to people that don't like to be out front, what are some ways that they can sort of start to stick their toe in the water and get used to, taking these small bites and getting used to sort of stepping out a bit more and, creating more of that exposure?
Yeah, well, so one, they have to think about what it is they really want. What do they want to accomplish? And most people don't believe me when I tell them that I am an introvert. I am totally an introvert. I am shy. I was a very shy kid. I wanted to be in the back. Nobody, whenever I say I'm an introvert, like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is my adaptive state. So again, early on, I knew that I wanted to do big things. I knew that I wanted to make power moves, but you can't do that if you're in the background.
Hello. say that one more time, because I just say it one more time, please.
You just can't make power moves if you're in the background. You have to let people know who you are. And part of that exposure, part of that reputation is being consistent about what you're bringing every single day. And making sure that is what people see, and that there's not a disconnect between what you believe you are and what others believe you are. I worked in an organization that was very big on, you have to contribute at every meeting, you have to talk. But if you're quiet person here sometimes, if you're quiet, then that means you don't have anything to contribute. Well, actually, I have a lot to contribute. Yeah. And when I do contribute, when I do speak, it's meaningful. I want to make sure it's meaningful, but sometimes I'm processing the information. So you don't want people to have this negative perception that, oh, Baxter's quiet. He's not bringing anything to the table. So for those people who are introverted, or just don't like to be out in the spotlight, that's fine. Sometimes you gotta step out there and take risk on yourself. And it could be in hearing about a tough project that's happening, working with a team. And then within that team, really, really showing your strengths within that team. Your team will recognize that. Your partners will recognize that. Who's the project champion? Who's the project sponsor for that team? They will recognize what you're contributing. Maybe you're the one to do the report out, right? Even though you're uncomfortable with it, maybe you do the report out. So taking those small steps, working in a team, working on some smaller things, but having that opportunity to be known for what your strengths are, and taking advantage of those opportunities. Other ways to do that is, having like a very strong elevator speech, because you never know who you're going to meet. And it could be a very brief conversation with someone. You don't have to be networking the entire room, but that one person that you meet, you didn't know that they were the CEO, and they were having a meeting the next day looking for someone to take on this new and exciting role. And that chance encounter that you had with them made a strong impression. You created a sponsor just by having that strong elevator speech and making an impression in a short period of time. You didn't have to step too much outside your comfort zone, but you created a sponsor, and you want those sponsors, because the sponsor is, again, someone who's advocating for you when you're not even in the room.
Wow. Man, all right. So I'm taking my notes because I don't want to forget. And I got a couple of things. So first of all, you talked about elevator pitches, and probably only heard elevator pitches in the context of like salespeople, but you're clearly talking about everyone, right?
Yeah.
So talk about so for folks that don't know what an elevator pitch is, tell them tell the audience what an elevator pitch is first.
An elevator pitch is a 30 to 45-second pitch about who you are, what you do, and how you impact your environment, whether it's, your role at work, the project that you could be pitching on, what that is. And when you think about it, if you were, imagine being on an elevator with someone important, you didn't know they were important, but you have 30, 45 seconds to get to second floor to the fourth floor, and they just happen to ask, so what do you do? And from that time you're riding up to the elevator, you told them what you do, who you are, why you exist.
Yeah.
And it's that opportunity on that elevator where you've made that great impression.
Yeah. And so, and tell me if I'm onto something, Cynthia, or if I'm not. When you think about the role that you play, everyone's role isn't the same, right? But first of all, everyone needs to know how their role impacts the organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need to see how their contributions each day sort of translate to the bottom line. And I think that's really important for like engagement.
Yes.
But then when people can understand that piece, a role that one may look at as mundane could really be exciting when you look at how it's contributing to this beautiful canvas, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think some folks are in a role and they're like, oh, I just do this. Oh, I'm just and it's like, no, you're here for a reason, right? Like, do you have to coach individuals up to help them understand how to sort of take their role and craft that elevator pitch around it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes there are folks who have that mentality, well, I'm just this or I'm just that. Well, no, you are. This is who you are and what you do, and how you make it special because of this. I mean, we always, again, go back to the mommy and the home training. My mom taught me, my dad, you treat everybody with respect, no
That's
matter who it is. You treat the janitor with respect. You treat the janitor with the same respect as you would the president or a CEO.
Yeah.
And if you just take that role of the janitor, say, I'm just a janitor. What? Do you know how important this role is?
Right.
Do you know that you are keeping people safe? You are keeping this place sanitized. You are making this place beautiful for all of us to come into a great environment every single day. Do you know how great that is? You are needed. You are necessary. So every single role is necessary. And I think, if you change that mindset and to understanding how you contribute, how you impact your environment, man, get excited about it and share that with everybody else.
Yeah. It reminds me of a book that I read. It's called The Happiness Advantage.
Okay.
And they did like a study, and it was in particular, it may have been janitors and in a particular like hospital or something along those lines. And people's satisfaction in their role really comes down to their attitude and the way that they look at their contributions, right? And if we could somehow, and sometimes me as your friend, I can help you, but leadership at your company needs to make sure that that they acknowledge you for your contributions and the importance of these particular roles, right? I mean, it's only so much your buddy can tell you. You need to feel it from the organization, right? Top down.
Right. You do. And from the top, the top needs to set what that vision is for the company, what's the mission, what's the strategy, and then how everyone, every function, every person impacts that mission, vision, and strategy. And if, the different organizations are clear, and it's up to those department or functional leaders to also develop with their team members clear visions on, again, why they exist. Why does my HR organization exist? Yeah. And what are we doing as a company? Are we saving lives? Are we impacting lives? And then within HR, how are we making this all happen as well? And so if people do have a clear vision and understanding of what's happening from the top, that can cascade, it should cascade down so that everyone else can be clear about how they contribute to that mission and vision on a day-to-day basis.
I love that. I feel like, again, I'm a late bloomer to some of these things, and I imagine that you've probably been aware of this term in a corporate setting probably longer than but I feel like I've noticed the term sponsor a lot more over the last couple of years, right? Mm-hmm. We've talked about the importance of mentors and how important it is to have mentors and helping you get to the place that you want to go, or helping, coaching you through different things. Talk about the differences between a sponsor and a mentor inside of your organization.
Well, a sponsor, you don't even know that you have. You don't even know that person knows you. A sponsor chooses you. You don't choose them. You choose a mentor. A mentor and a mentee relationship is mutual, but that sponsor is someone that you don't even know. Again, yeah. Maybe it's a chance encounter. Maybe they heard about you, but again, they're talking about you, which is why it's so important, again, to have that strong brand, know what it is, because you don't want to think that you're awesome and then somebody else thinks that you're not awesome. Right. And then for the shy people, or the introverts, when you talk about sponsors and mentors, another thing that has helped me is also, making sure that I have a strong personal board of directors. And on that board of directors could be your mentors and your champions and your peers, or maybe you've had a good leader that you call on. Maybe, there are some role models that you look at and say, oh, I want to be where they are. I'm going to do exactly what they do. Or you can also have a hugger on your personal board of directors. Because some days you just need a hug. It is not going well. Yeah. And you just need a shoulder to lean on. Yeah. But that personal board of directors is somebody, it's made up of people that you trust, whether it's a personal relationship or a professional relationship. But that mentoring is a mutual relationship that you guys agreed on, whether it's formal or informal. But that sponsorship, again, it's that person saw something in you that you didn't even know that they were looking for. And they're advocating for you.
Yeah, I like that because you mentioned a couple of times, right? They're the ones that are having these conversations about you when you're not around. You don't even know.
Right. The
And the
sponsor
spot.
is a decision maker. They are, they are the
Yeah,
decision makers, and they can make decisions on your behalf.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. I told myself this is my last question. This is my last question because I could just pick your brain all day. So, when we talk about personal brand and we talk about seeing yourself in a certain way, and as you put it, you may see yourself as awesome, and other people may not see. They may see you less than awesome.
Mhm.
How do you go about getting a real objective, like, view of like
Yeah.
how you're viewed by others?
I'm so glad you asked me that question, because I was just thinking, oh, I should have said this. But having opportunities for feedback from different people who are also on your board of directors, right? So my dad passed away in 2014, and I'm a true daddy's girl, right? I would go sometimes when I was feeling down, I would go to my dad and ask him, well, Dad, how can I get better? What do I need to do differently? And my dad had 3 girls, and I was baby girl too, right?
Yeah.
So he would say, you don't need to do anything differently. You're perfect. You're great. I wish your sisters were like you.
Yeah.
And I would be like, yeah, yeah. Right. Feeling good. I would come out of that discussion with my dad feeling great.
Yeah.
I'm on top of the world. But when I think about it, did he actually help me? He helped me to feel good, which is what I needed at that time. But I didn't improve from that conversation. I did not take any information that helped me to go and say, okay, this is what I can do better. Now, on the other hand, if I ask my husband, honey, what can I do to get better? I don't even have the opportunity to finish the sentence, okay? Right back. So he has listed about 10 things that I can do better.
Yeah.
And so while I may not like the conversation, while I'm like, okay, I'm not talking to you anymore right now. I don't even like you right now. While I may feel that way, once I step back and think about it, well, he's right. That's his perception of me. That's how he's receiving me right now.
Yeah.
And so what do I do? What do I need to work on? I'm going to take this feedback and actually put some action to it. So I trust both of them.
Yeah.
I trusted my daddy with everything. I still call him daddy, in my mid 40s.
Yeah.
And I trust my husband with everything. And so those people that you ask for feedback, you need to trust them.
Yeah.
Right. You need to trust that they have your best interests at heart, and don't wait for that feedback to come to you. You actually have to go out and look for it.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. I would say that your father it was productive, right? You need your cheerleaders as well.
Yeah.
Right. You can't have all cheerleaders and no, objective sort of things, but you do need people that will cheer you on when you may be feeling down, because sometimes that's just all that you need, right? And then there's other times where you need these more like constructive sort of criticisms or critiques. In the book that I wrote, it's a letter to my daughter, and one of the things that I talk about in it is how important this objectivity is. Like, and there are some pieces in there, and I talked about Kobe Bryant specifically, and how he would go and sort of do self-scouting. So if anyone knows anything about, sports, I think they even do it in high school now, where they would, you play a sport, you watch the opponent, you watch the team, you watch a game of them, whether you're watching it on video or you're going and attending the game. Then if there's games where you're like matched up with people, you may take it a step further and you may look at that person, right? I'm going to be paired up against Cynthia the entire game or most of the game. Let me, study some film, study some tape on Cynthia and her tendencies and everything. And then Kobe kind of took it a step further. He started to do this self-scouting where he started to watch film of himself to recognize tendencies in his own game, and sort of he started to scout himself the way that he would scout opponents, so that he could be more mindful of the things that he's doing. And I mean, it's brilliant. It's tough, right? Because you don't always like what you hear, whether it's your husband or other friends that give you that tough objective feedback. But it's also really necessary if you're really trying to improve. If you're not, then don't ask me. When you ask him, it's because you're looking for something and you're trying to improve your situation. If you didn't want to, you wouldn't ask. You'd be like, oh, let me not even get him started,
Right.
So and then I don't think this made the book, but I've even talked about the personality assessments, right? How important maybe those are to kind of give you. Some people who have no idea, they see themselves a completely different way as far as their style and their personality type. Some of the personality assessments are really important. And then I would even go as far as to say, if you're not thinking that you're getting the honest opinion from folks, maybe just do like a survey, like with your friend, like the people that you trust, and just try to get some real feedback from them, because improvement isn't easy. But if you really want to improve and make really great strides, I think it's important to receive feedback from outside of your own brain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Again, people see you totally differently. Like I had someone tell me they were interested in doing something, and I asked them why, and they said, well, because I'm a go-getter and I've been here a long time. Okay. Well, timing doesn't automatically qualify you for something new. And he said he was a go-getter, but I saw him as not having any ambition. Because when there were problems on the team, we would ask for help with those problems. He would never step up. He would never have any solutions or ideas, only contributed to what the problems were. Okay. Well, what about if you see yourself as a go-getter, you have to show up as a go-getter.
Yeah.
So while, again, you may have in your head, like I said, inside your head, in your head, you are that go-getter. Outside of your head is not the same picture.
Yeah.
And that is a derailer in so many careers when there's that big giant disconnect.
Yeah. I think you have given a number of gems today for people at every level of their careers. I think that some of the bigger pieces, or the easier things to take it away, is just get out there, right? And put yourself out there. And all of my introverted friends who do public speaking, who put themselves out front, they have one common thing, and you said it at the very beginning, and I just want to like sort of end with this. think about where you're trying to go. What, you know, and is your shyness or your discomfort worth you not advancing and not going after the goals that you have set for yourself? And only you can answer that. Right? We can't answer that for you. But for folks like yourself and others who are considered introverted, that folks may not realize that they are, you've made a decision that in order to get in the things that I need, I'm going after. Exposure is extremely important, and there's only one way to get it, right? You have to put yourself out there, volunteer yourself, speak up. And so if people don't take anything else away from that, from this conversation, which it would be an epic fail for them, but if there's just one thing you can remember and try to take into action, is just put yourself out front and understand your brand and how you show up every day, because people are watching. People are watching.
People are watching.
Yeah. Cynthia, thank you so much. This is great. Gosh,
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, this is, I want to keep you and just ask you more questions. I feel like I just got coached up today. So I'm like fired up and ready to go. On behalf of Cynthia, I am Baxter E. I just want everybody to know that you are worthy. You just need to embrace your own frequency. So thanks again for everyone listening, watching it. And until next time, peace.
Welcome into his brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please subscribe, share, and also hit that notification button as well. Thank you so much.
Financial literacy to authentic Black history.